Today is Saturday, it's the 3rd of February 2024, and I've got a bit of a news update for you. Some things have been catching my eye in the news, and one of the things that's going to be in the news a lot, I think, over the next year, 18 months, is ETIAS, this European Travel Information and Authorization System. Several people have written to me, asked me about it. I'm not the expert. Well, I've read about it. But what you should do is go to the official ETIAS website. It's run by the European Union and it gives you all the correct information and it's up to date. Unfortunately, if you go to other websites, you might get information, but it might not be up to date. And I've seen websites that say that it's coming into force in 2023. Well, clearly didn't. And it's not going to come into force in 2024 either. According to the official website, it's mid-2025. What's this all going to mean? Well, this ETIAS is a visa waiver, and it's not just for British people. Some people seem to think it's a Brexit thing, and the Europeans are trying to get their own back on the Brits. It's because the British, the United Kingdom decided to leave the European Union. They became a third country, and there's about 60 countries which don't require visas. The UK is one of them, but you will require from next year, if all this goes to plan, this visa waiver, which is called ETIAS. So there's nothing to worry about for 2024, but something to definitely think about for 2025. One of the concerns that was mentioned was about if you've got a criminal record. Hopefully that doesn't affect too many people, but if you do have a criminal record, then depending on that criminal record and how old it is and the type of criminal record, you may be refused one of these ETIAS. And if you are, then you're not coming to Europe, or you're not coming to the Schengen part of Europe. All this will depend on another thing. It's the EES, the Entry and Exit System. This is an electronic system that's going to scan your passport. It's going to take a photograph of you, so you get the facial recognition, and you're going to have your fingerprints taken. All that gets stored in a database, and they'll know exactly when you come into the country, when you go out of the country. This is particularly important because if you're not a European citizen, then you can't stay for more than 90 days, unless you've got a visa, of course. If you've got a visa, then it depends what your visa says. So this will keep a track on that, and you will be scanned as you go in, scanned as you go out, and as a non-European Union member, you're only allowed to spend 90 days in a 180-day period. And the way that looks is, as you come into the country, it will look back 180 days and count how many days you've actually been in the European Schengen area, in the European Union. And that mustn't exceed 90 days if you don't have the right to travel and live in the European Union. And those days will move forward. So it's always looking back from today, whatever day that might be, back 180 days, and it counts how many days you've been there. It sounds a bit complicated, so some people have devised apps which help count those days. For most people who are spending 2 or 3 weeks here and 2 or 3 weeks there, it's not going to affect them. What it does affect are people who are homeowners in France or in Spain or Mallorca, and they want to spend a long time in the winter, perhaps in their home, and they can't spend more than 90 days in any 180-day period. If you read some of the newspapers, the Mallorca Daily Bulletin being one of them, there was a bit of excitement because it looked as though the French might have got a way around it, but the French actually threw it out of their court because it was against the Constitution, and it left the Spanish on their own. And according to the bulletin, they're fighting hard to get this 90-day rule removed. I'm not sure about that. Some of the comments I've read says they've got too many other problems on their plate in Spain to be very much concerned about 90-day rules. And just last week it was in the news that they're imposing a €10,000 fine. This is Spain, are imposing a €10 fine for anyone who stays more than 90 days. So it really does start to get serious if you spend more than 90 days. There are some exceptions. If, for example, you fell down and broke your leg and you got put in hospital, then you'd get the exception there. So there will be some loopholes and some ways around this, but for most people, 90 days in any 180-day period, looking back, is all you've got. And you need to be very careful and keep an eye on that. Keeping on the travel, Jet2 has said they're going to be operating 276 flights weekly to the Baleares and bringing a total of over 1.2 million British tourists to the islands. Mallorca, for example, expecting 730,000 tourists just from one airline. This is just from Jet2. And they'll be joined by some celebrities. We've all perhaps seen in the news that Klopp, the Liverpool manager, has a house here. He's had it for some time now and has been a regular visitor to the island. Well, having announced his resignation from Liverpool Football Club from the end of the season, one of the suggestions is he's probably going to be moving into his house here in Santa Ponsa. There's been a lot of work that's been done on that, and it looks as though that could be really a place for him to spend more time in the future. There was jokingly a report last year that he might take over Real Mallorca, and following that last night's result, we might need his assistant. We lost 4-0 against Athletic Bilbao, which was a little bit embarrassing. I did put a video out last week on the Paso Maritimo. There's been lots and lots of work going on the Paso Maritimo, and it's starting to take a little bit of shape. We're starting to see the promenade near to the businesses, near to the shops, near to the bars, near to the restaurants. That's starting to finish off. It's not nearly there yet, but it's still got progress to be made. But it's starting to look better. There is a part though, there's a social club. It's actually a British-owned social club. There's a little bridge that goes over to it, and it's right in the middle of the dual carriageway, so the road goes around it, and it's got a car park in front of it and behind it. And that should have been demolished last year. It should have been demolished in November so that they could continue the work. We were there over the Christmas period having a look around, and it was open and it was doing business, and they were just getting ready to welcome guests to one of their social club parties. Well, they've been now told that they've got to sell it, and it's been compulsory purchased. They've been offered 500,000 euros, and they've declined that. They said that's not enough. Well, now it's gone to that next stage where it's going to be compulsory purchased, and they're going to be told what they're going to accept. What that figure is will depend. It might sound like not a lot of money, but their lease ends in just 2 or 3 years, so it's not a very long lease that they had on that particular business. Another report that I made some months ago now was about the Hessa Building. If you've driven into Palma, on the cathedral side, there's this copper-coloured building which has been derelict for years. It's known locally as the Hessa Building. It was the gas and electricity building. It was their offices, and they left and moved into new offices near to Portugal, and it just got left and abandoned, and it's been left like that for such a long time. Not sure what it's like on the inside, but the outside hasn't been damaged as much as you might think. It's got a complete glass facade, and you might have thought vandals would have destroyed that, but it doesn't look too bad. It's actually a listed building, which always amazes me every time I think about it, because I think of Buckingham Palace when I think of a listed building, something palatial or something that's got some historic significance, and the Hessa Building certainly doesn't fall into that. Well, the government have been insistent that they wanted to purchase that, and 25 million euros is the agreed amount. There's money coming from central government, so it's not all the local government, and some from the European Union, and the idea is to convert it into some sort of a cultural centre with various different cultural things going on. There'll be an auditorium, a library, The city archives will be there, arts and museum, all of those sorts of things. So it could be interesting. What they're going to do with the copper-coloured glass, I don't know. Apparently it's not double glazed, so it's not very energy efficient. And one suggestion is that they might have to replace all of the windows, and that is going to be very, very expensive. The reform itself, it's not the cost of buying it, that's 25 million, but the reform, we've had some architects and surveyors going in, and they are estimating between 30 and 47 million euros. So it's a very expensive project, and it's one that they're going to be pushing forward. I was asked a week or two ago about masks in Mallorca, face masks, following the COVID announcements that COVID was on the increase, but it was more actually about flu and bronchitis and chesty coughs and things. And so the local, well not local, the national government said that masks had to be worn in hospitals and clinics, in those sorts of surroundings. Well, that's now gone as of yesterday. They're still recommending, if you go to a hospital, put a mask on, especially if you've got a cough or you're spluttering. Then I think that's a good idea, don't you? Wear a mask, though it's not going to be obligatory. Well, we've just finished the fiestas surrounding Christmas, surrounding San Antonio and San Sebastian. Lots of party atmosphere going on all over Palma. But as of tomorrow, Carnival starts, and that's another big set of fiestas. So some of the things are actually starting tomorrow, February the 4th, in Palma, and there's lots of things going on for the children. And then next week there's going to be even more festivals going on, and then big processions. They'll be going on in all sorts of different parts of the island. So on Saturday a week today, we're going to Llocmayor, and we'll be going to have a look at the procession there. On the Sunday, it's in Palma, but different parts of the island will be having them on different days, and always really quite a big celebration here in Majorca. Excuse me. Also, I've just read that the Chinese New Year will be celebrated around that time as well, around the 11th of February, so even more celebrations. The weather, very much in the news. As a Brit, I think we're always talking about the weather, and we're always complaining about the rain or the cold. Well, it's been the biggest topic of conversation, the biggest topic of news in Spain for the past number of weeks now, because they just haven't had any rain. It's very, very dry, and some consequences of that is that food prices have shot up, particularly olive oil, which you may have seen in one of the news reports that I spoke about. Olive oil is incredibly expensive and very much a part of the national diet. But now we're getting restrictions, not yet in Mallorca, but certainly in the Barcelona area. If you've got a swimming pool in the Barcelona area and it's got no water and you can't fill it up, and there'll be other restrictions as well. Whether we'll get those in Palma, we've never had them, as far as I can remember, in the nearly 40 years that we've lived here. But the water does have to come from somewhere. At the moment, we've got 2 reservoirs up in the mountains, which are very, very low. But much of our water comes from aquifers, so we have a borehole which pumps water out of the ground, and that water actually comes from the Pyrenees, or much of it does. And if they haven't had any rain or snow in the Pyrenees, then we're going to be suffering here in Mallorca. One way out of that, of course, is desalination, and we do have several desalination plants on the island. That's just a very expensive way of obtaining drinking water. So we'll keep our eye on that one. The government, the authorities here have said it's going to rain between now and the summer, but not for the next couple of weeks. The next couple of weeks it seems to be sunny and dry and warm temperatures. We've had temperatures around 18-20 degrees for weeks now, even going higher at some points. There's a little bit of a breeze now, but it's been beautiful today, settling around about 18 where we are, but up in maybe a little bit higher elsewhere on the island. So if you're coming out now, you've got some fantastic weather, but it does go cold at night. We went out last night to watch the football. Perhaps wish we hadn't gone, I don't know. We lost 4-0. But as we went out, it just felt really nippy in the air, and we're glad to put a coat on and a scarf on. Once you're inside a bar, it's very warm, and the atmosphere very warm too. And well, the outlook for the weather over the next few days is more of the same. More sun, more cloudless skies, or just gentle clouds, and no rain on the horizon at all yet. Well, football, we've got another match on Tuesday. This one is a cup match, and well, I think Mallorca really should be concentrating on the league. It's really important that we stay in La Liga. We lost terribly against Athletic Bilbao. We're going to be playing Real Sociedad on Tuesday night. That's at home. It's the first leg, and the second leg's the following week. Club's actually organising a day trip, but I don't think we're going. It's just over €300 to go for a day trip. That's the flight there, the coach from the airport to the stadium, the match, and then the return. We'll probably settle to watch that on the TV. We've got our daughter coming anyway, so we're looking forward to seeing her. So anyway, thanks very much for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.